meeting to order July the 2nd at 4 p.m. We have two items to discuss. One would be the COPS grant and an item by Chief Bush concerning some insurance reimbursement and repainting of fire apparatus. So Mickey or Jim or whoever wants to go in the first one.
Okay, so we got a grant awarded to us to hire 3 officers through the federal COPS grant. That's one that we had brought before public safety to get a resolution to actually apply for it on the front end. And we did finally get notified that we were going to be awarded that grant. So I've sent that over to Robert, and they're going to, for the federal funds will be $375,000 over 3 years. But the city's portion, it's a 25% match, is $258,266 divided over 3 years. It works out to about $86,000 a year for 3 officers for the city's portion.
So it's a total of 375 plus 258.
No, the 375 are the federal funds over 3 years, and then the 258, 266 would be the city's match over 3 years.
That's for 3 officers?
Yes, sir.
Okay, help me out with the numbers. That's $600,000. That's $200,000 a year for 3 officers.
I'm not sure exactly where they came up with their numbers, but that's the numbers they provided us. And Lieutenant Daniel may have some additional information. I don't believe we have to expend every bit of those funds, but it is a 75%, 25% match per officer for the 3 officers. And then, but that is the total allotment. They won't provide any more funds than that. Is that right, Larry?
Yes, that's correct. So it's split 3 years, 3 officers. So it's for 3 different positions.
I get what you're saying, that for 3 officers for 3 years, 600,000 sounds like a little high.
If you do have the copy of that worksheet, in the back of it, there's the breakdown of the budget worksheet that does out year 1, year 2, and year 3 per entry level officer per year.
So that's including salary and benefits, correct?
Correct. So like for year 1 per officer, it's $44,204. And for benefits, it's $24,559.76.
Okay, so you're looking at $60,000 a year per officer.
Yes, sir. Roughly 60. It's a little over 68,000.
Okay, that does make, that makes a little bit more sense. That's still.
And then the salary and benefits go up year 2 and year 3 based on the projected COLA.
Didn't you say they're paying 75%, Jim?
That's correct. The city's only responsible for 25% of the total cost.
Okay. So I'm like Chairman Brown. If they're making 60,000, that's 180, and we're going to put 80 in there. That's not 75-25, unless I'm missing a boat though.
Yeah. Well, yeah, the 375s. Yeah, I don't.
Something's done that up, because if it's $60,000 per officer, that's 180,000, and we got to spend 80,000 a year. That's not 75-25.
Well, I was just reading under allowable cost, and it says it's up to a maximum federal share of 125,000 per officer. So I guess if it doesn't spend that much, then we wouldn't owe that much.
That's right.
Okay, so this would be a cap fee.
Yeah,
That
that's
if
what
we,
it says on, under, it's next to the last page and it's under number 3, allowable costs.
okay, now you have an advantage that most of us don't. I don't have that piece of paperwork in front of me, so.
Dave, did you, I had sent that to you. Did you ever send that to the alderman?
No, sir, I didn't know that was on the back. I'm looking at it now. Well, I don't see the. No, I didn't send him a copy, chief.
Let's see if I can find it on my other phone.
There it is.
I can very easily forward that, a copy to the,
Yeah, that's fine. It doesn't, you know, we all been busy. Things happen. So I think if the 375 is a cap and the 258 would be cap money, we're not going to get there, but
Right.
We will get within that range is what it boils down to. What I'd like to see is I would move to accept the grant so we can get it moved to the board where there can be a board discussion about it. But I'd like to see the I's dotted and the T's crossed a little bit before it gets to the board, you know, where we can have that information front before 7 o'clock on July the 14th.
right.
Because
I can get this emailed out quickly. It's, and you can see the breakdown of costs on the back page.
I'll second your motion, Alderman Brown, Chairman Brown.
okay, I just think we've applied for COPS grants for years and years and years, and finally get an opportunity to get one. We want to make sure we do it right, but we certainly want to accept the grant if we can get it, because it's just money in our pocket. If we don't, it'll be similar to some other grants. If you get out of the boat with them, you never get back in, period. But I'd like for us to have some closer figures exactly. You know, if that 375 is a cap, that's fine, but I'd like to get us some closer figures what it's actually going to cost us per man. And if it's 60-some thousand dollars a year, it's 180 grand. So 75-25, that's pretty easy to figure over a 3-year period. Now, here would be my next question before we vote on this. And Peg, if you've got anything, just go ahead and jump in because I don't have you on my screen. So this grant, will we use this year? And I guess that's up to the PD and up to Mr. Lamar, whether we do that and put it in this budget that we just passed. Is that something we can do and utilize and save some of that money? I don't know when the grant becomes effective, and so I need some help there.
The grant is supposed to become effective July the 1st, but we won't be ready for that. In fact, we are interviewing the remaining people on our list Monday, and we'll know whether we have 3 to be able to fill those positions with. If not, we're actually going to rush up the testing because we've got several in the bin waiting to it's applied, and try to get that. And so the grant would start from the date we hired them this year.
Okay, but those 3 officers would go against it. You understand what I'm trying to say? I'm trying to.
Are you
Maybe
saying
I don't understand.
against the 5 that, because we didn't get any in the
Right.
budget? So you
Right.
talk about if we was to get some in January?
Right.
Yes. So we would have 3 there, and we'd probably ask for a couple more.
One of the things that is brought up, and I don't want to throw you guys under the bus, Mickey or Chief Jones, is that somebody asked me yesterday, they heard about the COPS grant saw the advertisement for today's meeting and said, well, I thought we were in a hiring freeze. And I said, we are. So we're going to let the police hire, but nobody else can hire anybody. And I know it's a grant and everything else like that, but if we don't have to rush up the hiring, I think it'd be beneficial to put it off a few months anyway. I don't know that that's going to be, somebody going to say, we're going to spend $80,000, but we couldn't give the employees a raise and we got a hiring freeze. We're going to hire police officers. again, I'm not against any of this. I just want you to understand the kind of feedback that I'm getting. So maybe
Yeah,
some,
I just hate to turn it down because as Steve said, we'd never get it again. It's been over 15 years since
Well,
we've been allowed that. And we can put it off for a small amount of time, but we can't say, hey, we're going to wait on next year and hire them, you know.
right. Well, I don't, I think rushing up the process may, I think, again, it's going to take a couple of readings for the ordinance for the budget, and then it'll take personnel some time to post it and get some more applicants or whatever. I'm looking at maybe just 60 days, whatever, to see what the economy does. It's just hard to sell to the other departments and the staff. We're going to let this group hire, nobody else can be hired and so on. So I don't want to do the way with the grant. Don't get me wrong. I agree with the grant 100%. We get it. But I say we don't, if we've got some limitations on when we can do it.
Yeah, we may have enough on this list. We've only got 5 people left, so depending on the interviews and how their backgrounds play out, we may have enough to hire immediately, but we may not. So,
How many vacancies have you got now?
well, we've got 1 vacancy right now, and then plus the 3 for this grant.
Chief, I need to point out that on the front page of the letter, when we got this grant awarded, it did tell me that I had 45 days from the date of receipt of that letter to notify them back to accept the grant. So we've already lost 6 of those 45 days.
Yeah, the quicker we accept the grant, the better off we are, because if we don't, I'm afraid they'll give it to somebody else.
But there's a difference in accepting and execution.
Right.
We have to accept it within 45 days.
Yes.
Then we execute the grant, and that's when the money comes into play. So
Right. And there's
I'm interested in knowing when the execution date is, and I think that's what Mr. Lamar's looking for is how can we balance that?
Well, I think initially we have to apply for an extension. And so initially they said you can hire 3 people July the 1st. But we know that we will not be able to meet that. Even if we hired them today, we wouldn't be able to meet that. So certainly if we have to get a new list up, it's going to take a while. It just depends on our interviews Monday. But I think the sooner we take them, the better off we are.
I have a question. So how much would our portion be for 3 people, 25%? Roughly, what would our portion be for at least 1 year of hiring?
Yeah. So for a year, it should run with benefits around 60,000. That was that number we put out before, up to a maximum of 86,000 based on their figures, but theirs are way high. So I'm thinking that's all we would be spending probably is about 60,000. Is that correct? Larry, you're the grant guy.
Well, yes, sir. So the worksheet that they did, they broke it out into 3 years. So each year goes up a little bit. And the worksheet normally is done by the finance office for us as we're doing the application. So that's where all of the numbers came in for the benefits and then the base salary that was added. So it did start out at year 1 at $44,204 for a base salary. And by year 3, it goes up to $46,319 for the base salary, with the benefits being just a little bit smaller change than that. So they're in totals. That's where they came up with the number of the 258,000 for our portion, which would be broken up over the 3 years. So at the end of 3 years, the total cost to us is the 258. But if we divide that by 3, that's where we come up with the 86,000 a year. And if you divide that by 3 again, that would be that number per officer. So the 86 is for all 3.
So if we wait a couple months for this fiscal year, that would, let's see, that's 12 and times 10. So if we waited a couple months, like hired him September 1st, we'd be spending roughly 72,000.
No, the numbers don't start until you hire them.
So you would still owe the same amount over a 3-year period.
Right, right. I'm just looking for this fiscal year, what we could get away with spending, say if, okay.
Well, if the numbers that you spit out there a minute ago, our starting rate and our benefits, it's about $60,000 per officer. That's 180 grand. 25%, that's $46,500. So if it's a 75-25, we'd spend roughly $46,000 this coming year for 3 officers.
Is that right, Larry?
I did not have a calculator crunching the same numbers he just did.
Well, I crunched them and I've been crunching for a while, so I guarantee you that's pretty close to right, if your numbers are right.
You probably are.
The 375 and the 258 are really irrelevant. If they are caps only, because we're looking at what we start an officer out and his pay plus his benefits. We're doing 3 of those, roughly $180,000. It's pretty easy. It's 46.5. So that's what we would be spending roughly. That could be an exact figure by the time we meet again, because we can get with Robert and get the exact numbers on it. But
Larry, you get that clarified tomorrow on the phone with them.
Tomorrow's a holiday, sir.
Okay.
Monday be okay?
not for me. I'm working tomorrow.
Me too.
I'm not in government, so
I think it's for them that,
Yeah.
I mean, we'll be here too, actually.
I think the whole point is we want to try to accept this. We want to do it right. I understand
Yes, sir.
Mr. Marb's point completely. I agree with that. I would like to see the numbers a little bit tighter. Mr. Edwards sounds like he would as well, but we can't accept it. It has to go through public safety. We have to say yay or nay here. That doesn't mean we accept it. It's got to be voted on at the board level to go ahead and accept it. So I want to call for a vote on it now, just to get it moved to July the 14th. But I really want to see some numbers, strong numbers that kind of bring that into focus of where we're exactly at. So that can be done. Chiefs,
Yes.
Robert, who's probably not there. Ms. Petrelli, do you have anything?
I'm good.
Okay. All in favor of Public Safety Committee accepting this grant?
This
and
needs to be a
moving it?
voice vote, sir. Sorry.
I'm sorry. Zoom. I'm totally not Zoom. Thanks, team. All right. We're going to vote on that, accepting this grant and moving it to BOMA. Mr. Edwards, yay or nay?
Yay.
Ms. Petrelli, yay or nay?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. So that's 3 yeses. Please do a little bit of work on that and get it fine-tuned down where we won't take so many hours and BOMA asking questions. We'll have those answered before we get there. All right, thank you. Chief Bush, you're on deck.
The ordinance I'm bringing before you is related to Engine 2, which is a 2015 Sutphen that we purchased back when I first made chief. The paint started flaking off the top of it. Basically, Sutphen Corporation, it was outside the warranty, but we did have some good conversations with them. They agreed to paying 40% of that. According to Robert, this has to come before an ordinance before you guys because this check for $1,256, which is 40%, has to go to the general fund. And then in order for us to get it back to pay that 40% towards that painting job, we have to come before you guys and get permission to transfer that money from the general fund to our insurance line item.
All right. I'll move to do that.
Second.
Second by Ms. Petrelli. Any conversation?
I'm
All right.
taking notes here. So how much are we transferring from general?
It should be $1,256, sir. I think that was in the ordinance, $1,256.
Okay.
You got it, Russ?
Got it. Thank you.
So we're gonna transfer 1,256, get it moved over, where this can be, get your engine painted, basically. All right, all in favor of doing that? Ms. Petrelli? Ms. Petrelli? Yo, Ms. Petrelli.
She's in a very poor cellular area, and my guess is she's dropping. I can try to see if I can sidebar with her.
Okay, if that's legal. Or we can do it this way, Mr. Edwards,
Aye.
Mr. Brown.
Can you hear
Aye.
me?
We can, Ms. Petrelli.
Aye.
All right. That's it. No other business on our agenda. I'll talk to y'all. Have a great 4th of July. We're in a great nation, folks. We got some issues going on, but still the best place to live there is I can think of. Y'all have a good night. We're adjourned.
All right. Have a good
Thank
4th.
you.
Have a good one.